I love to laugh. And I told you last week that one of my favorite movies was A Few Good Men, and Shannon told me I ought not tell you this because you're going to think all I look at is movies that I shouldn't be watching, but one of my other favorite movies is My Cousin Vinny. How many have seen My Cousin Vinny? Y'all have all seen My Cousin Vinny. See it? They've all seen it. They probably don't want to know that their preacher's seen it, but now you know that too. Y'all, that is just a funny movie. I mean, from beginning to end, and there's a few words in there that aren't appropriate, but that is just a funny, I don't care who you are, that's funny. Marissa Tomei won a Best Supporting Actress nod for that movie. I think the funniest scene to me, I mean, there's two scenes that are connected that to me are just so funny in that movie. Cousin Vinny and Marissa Tomei's character walk into a diner in the Deep South to have breakfast. And the man hands them the menu. And the camera shows the back side of the menu. You don't see what it is that they're reading. And they're looking at this menu as though they are pondering over its many choices and the many things that they might eat to nourish them that morning. And one of them looks to the other and says, breakfast? Another one says, you think? You look at the back of the menu, it says breakfast $4, lunch $5, dinner $6. That was it. You just add breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's better on the movie, I promise. I wish I could have shown you the clip. We may have to work on that because the clip's really funny. But this Yankee lawyer from New York City later in the movie uses that to his advantage. When one of the men, having said that these two Utes had run into the sack of suds and run back out of the sack of suds in just a few minutes, then he had him because he said, what were you fixing? Because part of the discussion in the diner that morning was about this pot of white stuff that the cook was cooking. The cook had taught them all about grits. And they'd learned about how you cooked grits. So Vinny's got this man on the stand and he says, what did you have for that breakfast this morning? Well, I had eggs and grits. Well, did you have instant grits? No self-respecting Southerner eats instant grits. Well, did you eat your grits kind of regular or al dente? Well, just regular, I guess. And Hal, you said it took you a few minutes to fix breakfast. Well, yeah. You fixed them regular. Well, grits take about 20 minutes to cook. Well, I guess I'm a fast cook. Do you mean to tell me that water soaks into a grit in your house faster than everywhere else in the grit-eating world? He got him on grits. It's good to laugh. It's good to poke fun at ourselves. For way too long, I think part of our challenge as Christians has been, by and large, we're seen as a group of people that just aren't very fun to hang out with. We're sober and we're somber and everything is way too serious. Now look, we have to take what we do seriously because in the balance are people's souls and their lives. It is serious business. But more often than not, we are on the side of taking ourselves too seriously. I mean, there's just some funny stuff in church. The fact that I stand up here in a dress every Sunday morning and y'all don't think a thing in the world about it, that's just funny. Some of the things we do are just funny. It makes you laugh, and that's okay. Back in the early church, I would have already been in trouble. The Council of Constance in the 1400s consigned to hell any minister or monk who spoke jocular words so as to provoke laughter. I'm already sentenced to hell for what I've done to you this morning if I'm living in 1400. Well, maybe I'm sentenced to that for living in 2010 too, but that's another sermon for another day. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to laugh at ourselves. It's okay to poke fun at ourselves. It's okay to be funny. Now, in part of my research, I ran across a number of comedians. Tim Hawkins is one of my favorite new clean comedians. This man will just make you laugh. He is so funny. He will make you laugh out loud. If you go Google him or get him on the internet and watch some of his stuff. It's funny. He does a lot of church humor. He does a lot of songs. It is just funny stuff. Another local comedian I came across by the name of Ken Kington. Ken lives up in Ackworth, and he's a Christian comic, a clean comic. Most of his stuff has nothing to do with church. It's just good, clean, old-fashioned fun. Things that, just comedy that makes you think about everyday life. On his website right now is a bit about a hairdryer and the instructions in a hairdryer. And he talks about how ridiculous it is. He said, what's worse is that you know that the reason that the instructions are there is because somebody has tried that. He just starts reading down through it. Things are funny just as they are. He just starts reading the literal instructions to his wife's new hairdryer. If you plug it in the wall and it doesn't turn on, stop immediately and call a certified electrician. Do not use near water. And his favorite, he just busts out on this one. Do not use while sleeping. It's just funny. Well, as this funny man was traversing the country, as he was spending endless days on the road while his family were back at home, one late night after a comedy stop halfway across the country, his wife calls, and things aren't so funny anymore. Because his 3-year-old daughter has been diagnosed with leukemia. Ken gets on a red-eye flight. He comes back to Atlanta where she begins treatment. He said it struggled with it for a little while. His job was comedy. It was to make people laugh. And here, when he wasn't on the road, when he wasn't in front of a group of people, his life became very serious. And he struggled with how much do you let the audience in on this? How much of this can be funny without being over the line? How much can I kind of depend on my comedy? He talked about it. He said, I don't go real heavy with it, but it seems to free people up. Though they may not be dealing with cancer, they can relate to life throwing us a sucker punch. When I'm on stage, it has to be about comedy and fun. The balance of the show has to be that way. But I've sensed my audience opening up, like they've been given a license to laugh, no matter whatever their situation. As a pastor, one of the highest privileges we share is the opportunity to be with family when they've experienced the death of a loved one. I've spent a lot of evenings and afternoons in the viewing room at the funeral parlor. Well, folks have made their way through the line as they've paid their respects as we do so well here in the South. More often than not, over in the corner somewhere, a group begins to gather, and they begin to tell stories. And almost every single story they begin to tell is one that will make them laugh. It was something that their aunt or their uncle or their grandmother or their parents or whoever it was something that made them laugh. Because in the midst of our pain, in the midst of our sorrow, in the midst of our mourning, we want to remember the good things in life. We want to remember when things were funny, when they were humorous. We need to laugh. Now, you think about Jesus. As you look through the Bible, and you think about it, there's not a whole lot of laughing stuff going on. But you dig deeper. You dig deeper and you find some pretty funny stuff. You remember the story of Sarah and Abraham? You remember that story, don't you? God comes to Abraham and says, you're going to father a child and you're going to be the father of all the nations. And Abraham basically has a belly laugh at God. My wife and I are almost 100 years each, and we're going to have a baby? It's funny to think about. It's disturbing, probably, but that's okay.